Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog and also to my YouTube channel at stampwithelaine.com. We are so spoilt by Stampin' Up's fantastic colour range. There are 10 colours in each family, which is broken up into the Brights collection, Neutrals, Regals, Subtles, and then at any given time each year there are rolling in colours which last for 2 years, so we actually have 50 colours to choose from. These are mostly water-based inks. Sometimes it's nice to use the Whisper White Kraft Ink. Now this is my old one, which lasts for years and years. I think I've had this for 15 years, as long as I've been with Stampin' Up. So this is the old design case, and the ink pad is sort of more porous and spongy. The new style design is an uninked white ink pad, and it's the same density type foam as in the water-based inks, but it comes uninked with the Whisper White refill together, so that you have to ink it yourself. Yesterday in my Top Tip Tuesday I showed you how to ink up an uninked White Kraft ink pad. You warm up the bottle so that it's easier to squeeze, and the ink also warms up a little bit so it comes out a little bit more runny, so it's easier to impregnate the ink pad because the foam is quite dense. So I thought today I'd do a card using the White Kraft ink. And I think it's really underrated, because if you stamp just Whisper White ink on a dark cardstock, it gives you this muted hue, and I think it's lovely. So the materials I needed to make this card: Merriest Trees bundle. This is the stamp set, photopolymer stamp set. These are the dies that go with it. I'm going to be using this little star here to cut the star for the tree here, and I'm going to silver emboss this greeting, which resembles a tree, which I've stuck on using one of the stamped tree stumps for the trunk of the fussy cut tree. The other items I used is this gorgeous iridescent white ribbon, which is 1/2 inch wide, to go across there. The other item I'm using is the silver and gold adhesive matte glimmer paper. This is why I never throw away scraps, because then I can use it, bits of it, to try and die cut this star. So I'll do that off camera. And I use the largest of the nested rectangle dies to die cut this front piece here. There's a bit of embossing to do, so I've used the Embossing Tools Editions kit, Versamark ink, the metallics stamp and emboss powders. I'm using the silver one for the tree. Card base is 5 3/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches, and in metric that converts to 21 centimeters by 14.5 centimeters. Inside the card there is a basic white piece, 5 1/2 by 3 3/4, so that's 14 centimeters by 9.5. Of course, there's the Fragrant Forest stamp set. This is a background stamp. It's a single stamp, and because it's so large it will only fit on an F block, but I've still got my Stamparator, so I'm going to use that with a big piece of cardstock, which I will trim down later. Ink up the stamp. And you want to position the stamp so that it is away from the corners of the Stamparatus, because where the hinges are, it's raised higher up, and sometimes you can't get a good image if it's too close to the hinges. Let's see how that came out. I'm happy with that. Now, another tip about this White Kraft ink is that because it's pigment ink, when it dries, it does leave a mark on your stamp. So it's best to wash it off immediately. Spray it with some stamping mist. You won't want to use your stamp and scrub with pigment ink. You want to take away as much of it as possible before you put it on your scrub. Otherwise, the scrub will go all white. So I'm going to stop filming for the moment and go and wash this off. Now that I've washed the worst of it off, I want to get into all the nooks and crannies. Now on the Stamp and Scrub there is a bit that is sort of like raindrops, and on this side there is a sun. So this side is for drying, and this side with the raindrops is for cleaning. So you spray the stamp and mist on that side, and actually I'm going to have finished stamping, so I'm just going to take this off and scrub it on here and clean it well, then dry it off on this side. So you Stamp and Scrub just gets in all the nooks and crannies, so it's perfectly clean now. And return it to my stamp case. I always try to get in the habit of putting the dies away as soon as I use them, so I don't lose it. And also, if you don't clear your desk as you go along, it gets very, very messy. I've left it for considerable time to dry, and if you touch it, it's still a little bit tacky. So if you want to speed up the process of drying, just use a heat tool. Now when I touch it, it is perfectly dry. I'm going to use the largest rectangle die to cut my seam. Now I want to mat this onto a basic white piece. Look, it's a little bit lost, but if you put it on a white background, it makes it pop. But you don't want it too wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this onto the matte layer and then trim it. And then use the mini guillotine to trim it. So that's why I haven't given you precise measurements. And you can see if you put it on this, the die is, oops, I've got it upside down. The die is sized for US letter card. So you can see that it's not quite even at 5 3/4 inches. So a trick is to put it on at an angle like this, so that it doesn't really matter. But before I actually put this onto the card base, I'm going to put my ribbon on. I'm just going to pop a bit of double-sided tape, turn tape, on the bottom to anchor the ribbon. Then I'll tie a flat knot, so you cross the left bit of the ribbon over and tuck it under, and have this at a right angle. Okay, like so. So that's fairly tight. Then loop this over, cross this against over the loop, pull it through, keep hold of that, and then pull from the left hand side of the ribbon to create the flat knot. And once you've pulled it tight, just trim off the ribbon. So I've put double-sided tape on the back, ready to put it on the card. I've only released the backing tape, bit of it, so that I'll get it in the right position first before I remove the rest. So now I want to emboss my greeting. Get my Versamark ink. Put the heat tool on it. I'm going to cut this around the letters to create my tree shape. Angle my scissors at a 45-degree angle, and I turn the paper rather than move the scissors. Take the backing tape off and pop our star on top there. It's properly stuck. Then put the embossing buddy on top so it doesn't stick to the card itself, and then pop dimensionals on the back. I've removed the backing tape, so now I'll stick that on so that the tree stump is here. Then embossing buddy on the cardstock for the inside of the card. Back with the Versamark ink, and just stamp a sentiment. Make sure that's straight. And there's this little cluster of stars, so I'll just stick that there. Emboss that in silver as well. I forgot to press record, but I've sprinkled that with embossing powder, silver embossing powder, and we're just going to emboss that. So now we can glue it onto our card base inside, leaving an even border all round. So voila, that's the inside and that's the front. So I hope you've enjoyed today's project. White Kraft ink can also be used just for simple stamping. The other uses are for colour whitewashing or embossing with, but this is just one of the ways you can use the ink as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.